think we are on shlok number 12. Runadi, please confirm. Or is it 13?
No, we have finished 12.
Okay.
We are going to begin with 13.
13? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So welcome back to our English broadcast. For very many reasons, including health reason, it was discontinued. We hope this time we will go through all the way till the end. My Guru Maharaj willing. Right now we are in chapter 13. Just to jog your memory and mind, let me tell you what chapter 13 is about. Chapter 13 is about, if I were to, compare it to you and your functioning, it is about you and your power, strength, mental, physical, everything. Here, he is talking about, the Lord is talking about the Purush, which is the soul, and Shakti, which is Prakriti or nature, which is his power. What does Shakti do? As you know, in Durga Saptasati it is said, Srishti Sthiti Vinashanam Shakti Bhute Sanatani Gunashraye Gunmaye Narayani Namostute. You do creation, then you do preservation, and then you will indulge in destruction. A very interesting illustration of that is a conversation between Swami Vivekananda and his guru, Ramakrishna Paramahansa. One day, a scared Swami Vivekananda came to seek an explanation from his Gurudev, Ramakrishna Paramahansa. And the Guru was, as always, very affable, very benevolent. So he said, what is it? What is troubling you? He said, Baba, I was just doing meditation under a tree, and beneath the trees, some distance from me, I saw a pregnant lady approach, and then she sat down and she gave birth to a child. And she was very happy about this child. Then she cleaned it up, dressed it up, did all sorts of, what we call in Bengali, ador, which means to love affectionately. She did that. And then she ate the child. So I am, so perplexed. How can a mother eat the child? So his Gurudev said, Ma ke dekhichis re. That is Ma. She is telling you. This is what is going to always happen. Creation, preservation, destruction. Ma birth dilen, জন্ম দিলেন, ওকে আদর করলেন, অনেক সময় রাখলেন, সাজালেন, বুঝলেন, খাওয়ালেন, সবকিছু হলো. Then she finished him off, the child. এটাই তো চলছে চারদিকে. Now, one can always ask, why? Why can't creation exist in perpetuity? Why does there have to be a destruction? Creation, then preservation, and let us stop there. It's a natural question. But the answer is also equally simple. It is in the nature of that power. It does these three things consecutively. For example, you grow old. Your black, luxurious hair turns thin and white. You don't will it, but that's the nature of your power, which is inherent to you. It is going to turn gray, and you're going to lose it sometimes. Now think of your nails. They grow, you cut them, they grow again. It's a big problem, and yet you have to face it and you have to feed it. Not feed it, you have to live with it. So that's the nature of nature. So God has willed it because He wants His Srishti to be, created in a particular way, continued in a particular way, and then destroyed it. It's like a game. Qazi Nazrul Islam has sung this very beautifully. I have always talked about it. Khelicho e visholoi virato shishu anomone khelicho. For him, it is a game. And his Shakti, his power, his strength will work according to him. In our cases, we are slaves to our own nature. In his case, his nature is slave to him. That's the difference between divinity and immortals. Immortality and mortals. That's the difference. It's the Maya or the nature. In his case, it is at the bottom of his creation. In your case, it is the first thing that starts creation. So now, chapter 13 describes the separation of these two forces. The Maya Pati, or the owner of Maya, and the Maya itself. What does he do in your body? And what does Maya, his power, his nature, his prakriti, his force do in your body? And how there is a mixed match of the two. That is what chapter 13 is all about. It's very beautiful, it's a very profound chapter. All of Gita is, but this particularly is for those who are logically interested in finding out about things, finding out about creation, etc. For them, chapter 13 is a must read. Okay, so now this chapter will tell us in what forms and in what locations in your body he stays. See, if it is Purush, Purush is described as Pur. Ush means Shayan. Shayan is sleeping. Sleeping in your Pur. Pur means Jaipur, Jodhpur city, place of living, place of residence. So he who sleeps in your body is Purush. Now mind you, he sleeps. Then who does the functioning? Who manages your bodily functions and your destiny and stuff like that? It is nature. So he is Mayapati. He stays in your body in three forms. There are multiple offshoots of those forms. We will come to that. The first form is Char Purush, the outer body. Char means decay, prone to decay, prone to death, prone to destruction. Your outer body is prone to destruction, delay, decay, everything. Then there is Akshar Purush. He stays in the form of Akshar Purush. What does he do there? He stays like the motivator. He is like an engine inside your body. Because of him, the nature works. Have you seen a car without an engine? Maybe nowadays motor and battery has come, but initially we knew a car had to have an engine to have any kind of motion. There's a very good song which is quite popular now. without people really realizing the meaning. And that, I think I've sung it in this our English version also. It says, Jara dhire dhire gaadi haako mere Ram gaadi wale. Ram is the Purush. He is the owner of the car, your body. Please take it away gently. Don't drive it into rough patches, potholes, etc. He says. This is Kabir. Then he says, Gaadi mari rang rangili. Oh, you have made it beautiful, and I have added to its beauty by little modification, little haircut, manicure, pedicure, facial, this, that, and I made it nice. I've given it good clothes, coating, everything, denting, painting. Gaadi mari rang rangili. I made it very attractive. Paiyo hai lal gulal. This paiya is called the kutas, the wheel. This gadi, this car, has only one wheel. That is the kutas. And because of him, the car gets motion. Otherwise, it will be sticking to just one place, can't move. So once again, Gaadi mari rang rangili, paiyo hai lal gulal. हाकन वाली छल छबीली, बैठन वालो राम भैया, धीरे धीरे गाड़ी हाको मेरे राम गाड़ी वाले. What is he saying? My car is very attractive. It has got one wheel. It is just like a ring, Sudarshan Chakra or Kutas, whatever you like to call it. Paiyo hai lal gulal. There is one which is red as the saffron color we use in Holi, that color. Hakan wali, the driver, is Maya, your assistant. Baithan walo Ram, and you are the passenger. Without your presence, the car will not go. The driver is not authorized to move. So you just stay. The Maya will, wait for you to come. So the body is initially formed in the mother's womb. And it is, I don't know, but it is supposed to be lifeless until the heart starts beating. That's the age for, for abortion. Some 6 weeks or something is given. Up to that time, you can have an abortion, but if it crosses that, then the fetus is already alive. There's life in it. It will be akin to murder if you abort. So the body is formed out of inanimate, natural ingredients in the womb. Right? When it reaches a certain age, Ram enters it. Atma, soul. And with it, Maya and Pran. Then you will see pulsation, and then later on when it grows its different limbs, you will start seeing it moving in the body of the mother, even kicking, turning around, stuff like that. It's still in the womb. That's the way he builds it. So, Maya, Gaadi mari rang rangili, paiyo hai lal gulal. Hakan wali chal chabili, baithan walo Ram bhaiya, dheere dheere gaadi haako mere Ram gaadi wale. Now, we have understood the birth. What about once the child is out on the earth, separated from the mother, she has given birth to him, the umbilical cord and all the connections to the child are snapped. Now he is on his own. what happens? The first thing and the worst thing that happens is he starts external breathing. Now, external breathing is an absolute essential phenomena for the child to live. If external breathing does not start, he will not get any oxygen, because the other source of his oxygen is now terminated. It's been snapped off and sealed. There was a wound, it started closing. But this external breathing creates all sorts of forces which are generated from the soul itself, generated from the movement of the pran, the external breathing. The first thing is brain, buddhi. Second thing is deh, he is conscious of his body. Third thing is the indriyas, the sensory organs and the work organs. He is conscious of them, he is about to control them. He can in some ways control. Slowly the control increases in its magnitude. And most important of them all, man, which brings in abstract feelings of I want this, I don't want this. I'm feeling hot, I'm not feeling hot or cold. So these abstract things are generated within the body from the soul and the movement of the breath, pran breath, pran vayu, life breath. And during creation, when the body is created, the 6 chakras, there are many. We have been told only 6, so we will confine ourselves to 6. The 6 chakras generate they are the centers for the 5 elements, and the 6th is the center for Akshar Brahma. Akshar, Char means khoi, khoi means to deplete. Akshar is non-depleting Brahma. So, these 5 chakras hold the 5 elements. We know that very well. Bhumi, Rapo, Analo, Vayu, Kham. And then there is Agya Chakra where the Akshar Brahma resides. Now, as the child grows, slowly but surely, these chakras do their own thing to his body. There are many things involved. For example, formation of his nature based on his sanskar from his previous birth, from his habits in the previous birth, his learning, skills. These start developing in this now slowly growing baby who is turning into a little frisky child. He starts exhibiting these attributes. Somebody is very, very good in maths, somebody is a dud in maths, the other fellow writes well, the third fellow paints well, somebody dances well. Why there is a difference? Everybody cannot be Sachin Tendulkar. There can only be a few others like him, like maybe Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. But in a nation of 140 crores, you can count them on your fingers. Why? In our external thinking, in our external conversation, we know them as child prodigies. But if you start thinking about it, what is a child prodigy? He has brought this set of skills with him from his previous life. That is a child prodigy. We know some very, very young people who play the piano or play the violin or sing so beautifully. Just on the 16th, on Janmashtami Day, Krishnadi, the favorite of my Gurudev, was at our house. She sang, she speaks so beautifully. Age is catching up, as it does with everybody. She started speaking on the Ramayana at the age of, 3, 4, 5, something like that. How did she get it? And why didn't I get it? So who determines who's going to do what? Who's going to do when? This is determined by what should I say? Inevitable but unperceivable forces. In Hindi, we call them sanskar. How are they transferred from that body to this body? That body is gone. If it was a Hindu body, it is already burnt and finished off. If it was a Christian or a Muslim body, it's buried and has already decayed beyond recognition. Only maybe the bones are remaining. So the skills that were there in that body, how did they appear in this body? That's the question. Bhagavan says, not only with the skills, even the nature, the very species will change based on your last thought in your last body, along with added to your karma in the last body. So we know various stories about the next birth of some of these great people like Jad Bharat in Bhagavad Puran. Jad Bharat was a very exalted saint. He had abandoned his kingdom and gone into the forest. He fell in love with a small, tiny doe, a deer. And because the tiger had eaten away his mother, he felt pity and attachment. So he went and rescued this doe and he brought her home. Now all his sadhan, bhajan, bhagavad bhajan, everything went to dog. At the last moment of his death, just on his split second before his death, he was thinking, what is going to happen to my Harin, my deer? It's innocent, it was dependent on me, now I am going. Some wild animal is going to eat it. And sure enough, Jad Bharat became a deer. Why I am relating this story to you is to illustrate the fact that your body is a temporary enclosure. For example, I don't know if it's the right example or not, but if you make samosa, you fill it up with a particular kind of masala. Somebody makes chicken samosa, somebody makes aloo samosa, somebody makes spicy samosa, somebody makes something else, something else, something else. There are so many varieties. Paneer samosa. You can fill it up with whatever you like. But the outer body is simply the container. So, these 5 elements within you, in various permutations and combinations, decide your ability. And you can relate that to the horoscope. You can relate that to so many things. And believe me, I am an engineer. I have done engineering all my commercial life in business. I have done projects for major steel plants. And I didn't believe in all of these things. Until I met somebody from Indian Oxygen. He was a director on board. One Mr. B.L. Sen, I can remember him. I do remember him. I respect him a lot. In those days, in his Mr. Sen's days, you could take 2 engineering degrees. He did take 2, chemical engineering and mechanical engineering. He was graduate in both. Now this gentleman could read the horoscope. He read my hand, not even my horoscope. He looked at the lines on my palm. And for the next 5 years he predicted, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. As he was speaking, I was incredulous. I was not interested. I knew it was some kind of mumbo jumbo. It couldn't have happened. Okay, what is he talking about? This gentleman who is the director of Indian Oxygen, I pity Indian Oxygen with such directors. That is the kind of thinking I had. And first thing happened, then the next, then the next, then the next. Within a year, whenever I saw or met Mr. Sen, पाए हाथ दिए प्रणाम करता हूँ. I used to touch his feet, and he would love me, pat my back. Hello, Acho. See, that way I am a little fortunate person. I have received great love from all the sages, all the great people in my family, other families, and the Guru Pankti. Tiwari Baba, Sanel Baba, no, I have not met Sanel, I'm sorry. Tiwari Baba, my Gurudev, and his Guru Bhais, who are Gurus now. Murli Baba, our Bhagwan Da. I don't know. Why is this love not available or appreciation not available to the others? First thing is, I'm not bothered. I'm happy with what I've got. But the question remains, why? Why did my Gurudev choose me to speak on the Gita? He had 2,000 or more disciples. So there has to be some carryover from the previous life. It's not accidental. In God's world, nothing is accidental. Everything has a meaning, has a logic, has a very clear, defined direction. And while you are alive, your body functions because of this pranavayu coming in and going out, which ignites a fire in your belly. That is called the Manipur Chakra. That is a representative of Arjun. And he is the one who is assisted by the Kutastha Akshar, which is Krishna, Akshar Brahma. He and Arjun in conjunction with each other, which is why Arjun's Rath, your body, is driven by Lord Krishna. He is the Sarathi or the charioteer. Now this combination, your body, Arjun or the power, and Krishna the driver, that is required to make you move, to function. Now who does what? You know, sometimes Arjun might have the feeling that, you don't give me enough respect, Lord Krishna. You're my friend. You appreciate Karn more than me. But when Karn hit my chariot with his arrow, my chariot would roll back about a foot. When I hit his chariot, it would roll back by about 10 feet. And yet you say Karn is a great charioteer, great archer. Why is it? So this confusion comes up because of wrong thinking. The Lord told him, your chariot has me. It also has Hanumanji on your flag. To move that, the two of us along with you, even a foot, is an enormous achievement. Karn's chariot has got nothing on it, except Karn himself. Now relate that to yourself today. This is what we do in chapter 30. The function of the charioteer, in this case it is three things. The name of this chapter is Kshetra Kshetragya Vibhag Yoga. Kshetra is your body, or your chariot, you call it what you like. In this case he has called it the body, the field. Kshetra is area, body. And Kshetragya is the farmer. Then it is called Purush Prakriti Vibhag Yoga. Purush is again Bhagavan Krishna or the Lord himself in different forms. And Prakriti is his power. They are functioning together in what we say, symphony. And the third thing is Gyan and Vigyan Vibhag Yoga. Gyan and Gyeya. Gyeya is the thing that you want to know, that you wish to know about. And Gyan is the amount of knowledge that you acquire in trying to know Him. In trying to know whom? Krishna. So He is Gyeya. He is the person or the entity or the force that you want to know about. And Gyan is whatever you accumulate in your search for Him. You know, like in the school, you go to the school, what do? You learn. Various periods, various classes, you learn about various things. History, geography, Sanskrit, Bengali, English, Hindi. That's that's Gyan. Except that in our case, in the spiritual world, Gyan is only the knowledge about the Almighty. Everything else is Agyan. Okay, so now, at different times, Akshar Brahma or Krishna becomes the Kshetragya. In reality, he is the Kshetragya. Arjuna is only a proxy. And in many places, he uses Arjuna as the Kshetragya. There might be a slight confusion about who is the Kshetragya, but this is very clear. The Kshetragya is he. But he has got no feelings. He is, see, remember, in the Mahabharata, Bhagavan Krishna said, I am not going to use any weapons. So here also, sitting here is not using any weapons. But that is not true of Arjuna. He can act. He will not act. Yet, because he is there, so Arjuna is there also. Because he is there, so your Prakriti, your nature is also there. Okay, so let us see chapter 13, shlok number 30. This is virtually, this shlok, from what little I have just seen, it is virtually from the Chandi. And from the Virat Rup Darshan Yoga, chapter 11. Let us see. Sarvata pani padam tat sarvato shiri shiro mukha sarvata shutimalloke sarvama vritya tishtati. Let us go back a little just to get a reference of where we are. In chapter 12, he said, the only Gyeya, Gyeya means knowledgeable, not knowledgeable, the one that you should find out about, that is Gyeya. The only Gyeya Vastu or the Vastu or the thing that you need to know about is Brahma. That was the last shlok, chapter number 12, which we had read. So now he is saying, what am I knowing you? What am I finding out about you? So this is what he is finding out. This is the first shlok after this. What is it? Sarvatra hasta pada vishisht. Okay. All the hands and feet, all the ears, all the eyes, all the mundu, the head, everywhere, in all the pranis are yours. He's talking about Brahma. You, please understand, this finds repetition in Kali also. If you carefully look at the statue of Kali in some Kali Mandir, you will find she is wearing a garland of heads and she is wearing a skirt of cut off hands. What does it signify? And her stance itself and the hands that she is holding, a cut off head in one, Qatar in the other, etc., etc. So there is a deep meaning to it. That meaning is being reflected in this particular shlok that we read. She is saying, I am Kal plus E. E is energy or Shakti or power of Kal. Who is Kal? Kal is time, as we normally know it. But Kal himself is Mahakal, the formless one. What do? We break Kal or time into convenient sections. The date of my birth, so and so. Even the next person living right next to me will not be bothered. How does that impact anybody else? It is only for my convenience and for the convenience of the filling up the forms in the school, the college, the office, the election commission, the passport office. When were you born? I was born so. How does that make any difference? It is just a reference point. So then your age is so and so forth. You calculate things on that. Kal is indivisible. It cannot be broken into sections. But we conceptualize it as past, present and future. Three Kal, three kinds of Kal. That which is in the past, which is now and which is going to be. But even as it is going to be, and this is what has been explained to me by Baba. Half an hour back I was thinking I will start the English Gita. Right? So that was then future. Now we are already doing it. It is the present now. Within half an hour, 45 minutes, it will be the past. I finished today's Gita session. So again, these three different divisions of time, past, present and future, are relative to you and for your understanding. There is no division in Kal. That is why when we say somebody is Trikaldarshi, oh, we are in awe. My God, Trikaldarshi. He lives with the Brahma. He's part of him. So he's Trikaldarshi. For him there is no past, present or future. Similarly, Brahma and his power creates all the variety of species that exist and in the numbers of species that exist. And he stays within them. Just as he is your Krishna in your kutas and guiding you, he is their Krishna in their kutas and guiding them as well. So just like your eyes, ears, nose, etc. belong to him, so do those of the other species, other pranis, whoever he may be, all across the entire creation. So that is what Kali Ji is trying to tell you. You don't do anything, you cannot do anything, everything is prefixed, everything is done by me, your hands are mine. This is what he is saying in this shlok. So beautiful, no? We never think about it like that. In the past 3 days, some people very close to me passed away. One was my Mashima's eldest son. He was quite senior to me. So I went to his place. It is somewhere in Lake Town. As we came back, we were told there is a Paitak or, Sabha for Krishna, not Krishna, what is her name? Kantadi, Chandra Kantadi. She is was the only surviving disciple of Sanyal Maharshi. Very respected, and she used to come to my Gita classes as long as she was in good health in my sister's house. She passed away. So from this meeting, Sabha, we came to this Chandrakanta Di Sabha, met his son, her son. And as I came back home, I was worried about one of the fine, very brave ladies, Prakash Gupta. She was a regular feature of all my Gita classes right from the time of my sister's sessions at her place. She passed away this morning. I talked to her a few days back only, and I said, Didi, are you able to do anything sadhan? She said, no, it's not possible. I said, but I insist that you do the first kriya. She said, I'm doing that. I said, you are a very brave person, and I appreciate your bravery, and I hope Gurudev will come to take you away when you have to go. She said, pray for me. Jai Guru. And that's it. That was just a few days back. That's the beginning and the end of your life. A very tiny fraction in the entire creation. If you read the Bhagavad, one Chatushyug, one cycle of the 4 Yug, Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, Kaliyug, 4, is about 70 lakh years. The youngest or the smallest is Kaliyug, which is 4,28,000 or 32,000 years. Dwapar is double that, Treta is double Dwapar, and Satyug is double Treta. About, no, not 72, it would be about 38, 39 lakh years. Now just understand why I am talking about this is because I want you to understand the scale of time. Now this set of one Chatusyug, 4 yugs, is one half a day in the life of Brahma, the creator. And a similar time length is his night. So the Pralaya Ratri and the Srishti together is just one day in the life of Brahma. Such repetitions of creation, destruction take place throughout 100 of Brahma's years. Please understand. If you have not, kindly see the movie called Planet of the Apes. You know, there are these space astronauts who go out somewhere, they get lost, they get disconnected with their base here. And when they come back, the humans are the slaves to the monkeys who have developed so far, and they have taken over the world. So they have doubts, have they returned to Earth or have they gone to some other planet? But what I am trying to point out here with this picture, the reference to this picture is the fact that in space, time has a different scale. When you get back to the Earth, it has a different scale. Very tough to understand. Having done engineering and always been in the science field, still tough to completely comprehend this. But my Guruji used to keep telling us. So now imagine Brahma 100 years, every one day. Let us assume his year is 365 days. So that is 365 times that entire creation and destruction has taken place. 365 into 12 into 100. And each half a day is some 30-35 lakhs of years, human years. So what is the significance of your life in the entirety? Less than zero. What are we shouting about? We have achieved this, we have achieved this, we have achieved this. We have not achieved anything. You will achieve that once you become one with your Maker, because then His abilities are yours. Right now, you are a lost half a particle of dust in a huge desert. And that is a very tiny description. Desert is much, much larger than that. You are a drop of water in the Pacific Ocean. Baba used to tell me, নিজেকে কি ভাবছিস রে? তুই কে? Who are you? Do you have any imagination? কোথায় থাকিস তুই? বাবা আমি ধানবাদে থাকি. I knew he's going to trap me into some puzzle. ধানবাদে থাকি. আচ্ছা, ধানবাদটা কোথায়? ধানবাদটা ঝাড়খণ্ডে আছে. Where is Jharkhand? Jharkhand is part of our country, India. Okay. And India is where? It's part of Asia, Baba. Yes. And Asia is where? Part of the world. One of the continents. Yes. And where is the world? Baba is part of the solar system. Wonderful. Where is the solar system? Part of the constellation called Milky Way. The Niharika we call it in Hindi. I don't know the name of. So, acha. And how many such, what do you call it? I forget the name. Milky Way is what? Galaxy. So how many such galaxies exist in the world? Oh wow, there's probably millions and trillions of them. Okay. So now just put yourself in the scale of the millions and trillions of galaxies and see where is your existence. There is not a dot smaller than my existence. Such a dot cannot be created when we are talking of such a huge entity. Exactly. You exist only because he is there within you. And the moment he leaves you, your body, what is your existence? Dust to dust, ashes to ashes. What are we so proud of? What is our achievement? What have we done? Therefore, try and search for him, be one with him. Then you will get a different scale. Then you will know what existence means. Wonderful things he used to say, and I'm so grateful he found it within him to come to my house, change my life, change my thinking, change my outlook. I get emotionally carried away, but it is probably for the good. This chapter 13, slok number 13 also, that is what we are doing if I am not wrong. Okay, so he says, he exists in the billions of creatures. Their hands are his, their arms are his, their feet are his, their faces are his, their eyes are his. He has created them. He lives in them. He energizes them. Hari Maharaj says, he can move from one corner of the creation to the other the moment he wants to. सूक्ष्म शरीर में आठों प्राण नष्ट रश्मि में जो चल से मन के द्वारा देखकर ग्रहण कर सकता था, आंख के सामने देख पाता. Whatever he feels like, he can see in his कुटस्थ. अगम्य स्थान में जाकर देख सकता है. He can go to the bottom of the Marina Trench, I think it is called, the deepest portion of the ocean. He can go there within a second and he can come back. He can go to the top of the Everest and come back. He can taste whatever is offered to him. He can even tell you how much maida, how much ghee, how much sugar, how much masala has been given in that particular item. He's not there physically. And that thing is lying in your kitchen or on your dining table, about to be partaken of. And he can tell you. I am a witness to some of this being done. We went to Lahiri Mahash's Diksha Sthan, initiation place, up in the mountains. A place called Dronagiri, and from beyond that there is this small little place called Kukuchina, and you have to walk 7 kilometers up the hill to reach this cave. And we sat down there because I always stuck to him. Something was guiding me properly. I always stuck to him as far as possible, as close to him as possible without being obtrusive. So I sat next to him, and I could, with the corner of my eyes, I could see him taking a pinch of the earth and smelling it. And then he threw it. Later on, when we were outside having finished our session of Kriya, he said, "This is not the exact cave, this area is that." Just by sniffing, he could tell us exactly what is what. He repeated the same thing when we went to see Lahiri Mahash's living quarters, which is now part of a assistant quarters in some army colonel's house in Kumaon regiment. We went to his office. What I'm trying to say is, as we were coming down, a particular path was shown to us. He took the matti again, smelt it, and he said, "No, must be some other path." And there was another almost, obliterated Pagdandi, footpath. So he went there, picked up another. This is the one. How? And the fact that we went to Lahiri Mahash's office and we saw Lahiri Mahash's register where he used to sign his attendance. Just one fine day he told me, "Ore, Lahiri Mahashake dekhabi na? Kothay thakto, kothay kaj korto?" And how do I even know? Lahiri Mahasha used to work in which place? Ranikhet is a decent enough town, large enough town. So I said, "Baba, thik ache, jacchi." And where do I go? I drove and we went to a road, and the thought came to me, since he was working for the military, so maybe you can find out something from the regimental headquarters. So as I was going to the regimental headquarters, there was this church where the ladies of the regiment were, widowed ladies of the regiment, some sweaters and some things they were selling, welfare something. So I went there and I went into the church and I said, "How do I find where Lahiri Mahasha used to work?" He said, "Who?" Nobody had heard of him. So then as I was coming back to where I had parked my car, there was this gentleman standing on the top of one stairs. And he said, "Lahiri Baba ka makan dekhna hai." Just imagine. Aiye. So I went up. He took me to the exact room where Lahiri Mahasha used to work. And he says, "Khata dekhna hai?" Yeah. Took out that register where Lahiri Mahasha used to sign. And I saw that beautiful divine writing with my own eyes. And I folded my hands and I said, "Thank you very much. Can I ask a favor?" "Bolo." I said, "मेरे गुरु महाराज आए हुए हैं, 10 मिनट में उनको लाऊं, आप रहेंगे, ये सब वो देखना चाहेंगे." He said, "Sure, जाइए लेके आइए." It was all being done by this gentleman sitting in calmly in this hotel room. He was conducting all this. And as I came back, excited and all, chali, and he said, "Ki, dekha holo kichu mone hocche." He knew it. He was a conductor of the circus, the ringmaster. This time I went about last year, Puja. Nothing. That office has been closed. all the documents, khata, vata, furniture have been disposed. He is with him. We are down here living our tiny lives. So this is wondrous for us. For him, here in this shlok, I come back to it. He can go anywhere, he can do anything, he can eat anything, he can smell anything, he can know everything. All that we have read. Now he says, when you understand him, Brahma, the formless one, you will also understand that there is no limit to what he can do. In Hindi it is saying, उसे समझ लेने पर ज्ञात हो जाता है कि ब्रह्म की क्रिया शक्ति असीम है. असीम means no सीमा, no boundary, no limit. I think I've been talking too much, but I get carried away. This has got 1, 2, 3, 4 pages to go. I don't think we'll be able to complete it today, obviously not. And I'm just selecting one passage and expanding on that. Because if I read word to word, he says, इसीलिए सबके चक्षुकरण के द्वारा मानो उन्हीं को देखने सुनने का कार्य चल रहा है. That is why all the eyes, all the ears, all the hands, all the feet are doing his work. This is what Kali Murti also signifies. Most people don't know. Even I was reading somewhere on the net, there was a very, very interesting podcast who was talking about various things. But even he didn't know. You know, the anchor asked him, why is Kali got her tongue out? And he had the same stupid explanation that because she accidentally stepped on Kal. Are she didn't accidentally step on Kal. She is always standing on Kal. Kal is her foundation because she is Kal E, the energy of Kal. Where else could she be standing? Up in the Himalayas. So this simple fact escapes us because we relate to the body, we don't relate to the power. So we get confused. क्रिया के अभ्यास के द्वारा ही कारणों को अकरण बनाया जा सकता है. करणों को अकरण बनाया जा सकता है. Karan is your instruments, hand, feet, nose, this, that. They can become akaran, inactive. तब दृश्य प्रपंच के रहने पर भी उसका बोध न होगा. Then you will see this world, but it will not register in your head. It is then that you will realize that the soul is quite different from what the world is projecting it to be. And this you will find only in Paravastha. When you are conscious of the world, this feeling will not come to you. ज्ञेय वस्तु ज्ञान से पृथक नहीं है. The knowledge of the person or the entity that you want to know cannot be different from the entity that you want to know itself. The two are the same. The knowledge only brings you closer. But until you are him, you won't know him in his entirety. When you see or perceive a variety, then your soul is not active. It is your man which has been created by the friction between in the breathing and the indriya which have been activated by your pran. And only they are looking at it and understanding it to the extent that they have the capacity to understand. You know, like a 4th class or 5th class child, he can't understand calculus and trigonometry and engineering, drawing, strength of materials. A 4th class child is not expected to do that. Similarly, you have not trained your indriyas to feed the soul. Not that it needs any feeding. This is also called Tat. There is a shlok that the Bihar School of Yoga in Munger, Swami Shivanand was there earlier. Then there was Satyanandji. I happen to know Satyanandji very well. He used to come to my house in Dhanbad. We donated some property to him also. Where the Bihar School of Yoga in Dhanbad is existing in that property only. And now Satyanandji has passed away. His able disciple Swami Niranjananandaji is doing it. He is conducting the show. So it's called the Bihar School of Yoga, originated from Munger. Bihar School of Yoga, Munger it is called. They have a different path. So they have a different mantra, they have a different kind of initiation. I am very happy where I am. I am very fulfilled. I am very grateful to my master for taking care of me all these years. And I wish some of us develop the same feeling of gratitude for their own gurus. And most important thing is, you must always be in touch with your guru. As long as he is alive, you must do it every week. Once he is not there, you will regret. You will, wring your hands and you will say, oh my God, I had a chance, but I missed it. But he has not left you, let me tell you. My guru left in 2000. It is not 25 years. But I still feel his presence. Whenever the urgent need gets hold of me, Guru will not leave you at all. I think we shall continue tomorrow because my granddaughter and my wife and people are leaving for some small trip to Ranchi. So they are about to leave. So I will excuse myself and we'll talk tomorrow. Brahmarpram Brahma Havir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Teina Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhinam Namo Shri Brahma Vidyam Yog Shastre Namah Shri Guru Charanakam Lebhyo Namah Shri Krishnaya Namah Durge Smrita Harasi Viti Mashesha Jantu Swastai Smrita Mati Mati Vashubham Dadasi Daridra Dukha Bhayaharini Katvadanya Kasarvopakara Karanaya Sada Prachitta Om Shri Gurudev Om Shri Sadguru Namah Om Shri Sadguru Namah Om Shri Sadguru Namah Om Shri Durgadevya Namah Om Shri Durgadevya Namah Om Shri Durgadevya Namah Jai Guru.